Good morning, Alexa. How are you doing?
Good morning, Arrow. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for asking. How are you doing?
Well, you've got the perfect last name. I'm Wild-ish. I mean, it's such the perfect name.
Thank you. I like it too. And it's real.
Man, I'll tell you, I grew up in the state of Montana, and you're in Lyons, Colorado. That part of the world, there's something special about that section of the world that I've never been able to pinpoint, but there's a vibration. Do you feel it as well?
Oh my goodness. 1,000 times over. Yes, it's such a vibration. It's a vortex here for sure.
Absolutely. Especially when it comes to those mountains, because I think those mountains talk to each other. The ones up in Montana versus those, the Cascades in Seattle, and then those that are right there in the Colorado area.
Yeah, it's very potent and powerful to be here. I feel like being around these mountains, it's like this amplifier of feelings because there's so much energy going into from the earth, making these mountains come out from the earth. They're huge. Like these massive mountains are around here.
Do you think that's where your music was given birth? Because you're feeling that vibration, that it had to come out in some form of shape. And it was like, wow, there's so many people that use music as a tool. I'm going to use it as well.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I would say, I didn't grow up here originally. I've been a lot of places. I grew up in like horse country in Southern California. So honestly, but I will say the earth does influence me. Like I'd say my time in nature is the number one influence of like how I even get the courage to write music and sing music.
Okay, you brought up horse. That is such a powerful totem animal, especially when it comes to communicating, because when horses love to be talked with, not to, but with. I mean, for you to even be involved in that says a lot about the way you deliver a song as well.
Yeah, I didn't grow up with horses, but my dad had them before I was born. And so my dad was always talking about horses. And so there was this big, that was a big thing in my life. Yeah.
My dad was that guy that was hired to go from farm to farm out in Wyoming to break the horses so they could be ridden. And what they would do is they would put them in the middle of a creek, and then the horses wouldn't buck because the horse was inside the creek.
Whoa.
And so it got used to the human body on the back without even having to go through the roughness inside that corral.
Whoa. That's a really cool way of doing that. Interesting.
Yeah, because you just take the horse is so beautiful as it is. Let the horse have a personality, just like a musician. Be yourself, because if you maybe it is like taming a horse in the way that with your vocals, you've got to be nice to yourself in order to bring it all forward.
Oh my gosh, never thought of it that way, but yeah, absolutely. Our body is our instrument. You have to be nice to yourself, and in order for absolutely. Yeah, that was cool. Thank you.
To get that phone call to make your way to LA. Oh my God, I can't imagine. Was it instant belief, or was it, who is this again?
Absolutely the second one. I was like, what am I doing? I'd heard about The Voice. I auditioned in 2019 actually. Didn't make it through very far in the process. And at that point, I was like really heavily into my songwriting. I was about to release a record of my own. That was like really special to me, and it just didn't feel right. But this time around, when I was asked and drawn into it again, I was like, yes, I want to do it. But it still took me months to realize what I was doing. Because I was like, wait, I'm going on television. Wait, what am I doing? and wait, I'm going to sing for who? And what's the vibe? What am I doing? Take me away from my sweet little nature town and go right into the downtown Burbank area and put me on TV. I was like, I don't know. What am I doing? So a lot of questions.
Physically getting ready for a performance like that, because I've been with more comedians that say that they practice in the mirror because facial expressions and body language are everything. Did you have to do that as well? Because all of a sudden that camera is on you.
Yes. Well, thankfully we did have a rehearsal for our performance where you can watch yourself one time. And I felt like that was looking in a mirror, and it was amazing to watch myself, because I'm also a vocal coach, and I was watching myself as I was watching a student, and I was able to be maybe if you try this thing. And so it was helpful to have that kind of feedback. But yeah, I did a lot of that. I did a lot of looking at myself, making sure that I was standing properly, emoting in a specific way. But ultimately, all that goes out the window because you're just on stage and you're like, I'm nervous.
I mean, first of all, as a fan of NBC's The Voice, that pregnant pause when they first introduce you and the song hasn't started yet, that is probably one of the greatest feelings as a viewer because anticipation is everything.
Yeah, it's really great as a viewer and it's really terrifying as the singer. It's just like you're just like all you could hear are the click of my boots walking on that stage. Like, yeah, the audience is dead silent and you're like, oh, this is intense.
So now when a song starts though, I mean, is somebody counting you down? Because how do you know? Because for some, they start the music right off with their vocals. It's like, how did the band know and how do you time it? 1, 2, 3, boom, song on.
Yeah, I mean, it's different for every performer. For my own, they gave me a chord and then I started. And we had the count, and so it was like I counted with the chord. They're on a click track, so I was kind of going to them.
Okay.
And if you miss that, I mean, you just miss it. They don't start over. So you just do your best.
Wow. And Lex, I got to tell you, one of my worst nightmares with the click track is I was putting together some music and my engineer, had that thing going on. And the thing, he goes, can you not hear the click track? And I go, no, I'm so into sharing the story that I'm putting inside the music that I'm tuning out the click track. Have you run into that?
Yeah, I mean, that can happen sometimes for sure, where you're not able to hear the click or stay in the heart of the music. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, I feel pretty confident with it. That because I've done so much training in that world where I'm staying in the story no matter what. Mm-hmm. In my own music, I have this way of emoting and making sure that the story is told. That matters the most to me, I think. So that, but also you always have to make sure the music is pulsing through you. You have to have enough practice to have that. And thankfully we did have time to practice our songs and get super, super comfortable with it before we did it.
As that vocal coach, how do you teach your student to be able to, don't sing this song, I need you to share this song?
Yeah, I feel like that's a majority of what I'm working with my students is after a while, the perfectionist has to get out of the way and you have to let go of the good, it's not let go of the good sounds, but let go of all the work that you've done. You need to do the work to make sure the song is coming through. But after a while, you have to just get into the emotion. That's the vibration that's coming through. That's the feeling.
Yeah. I'll sit with some of the local hip hop artists and they'll rap and everything. And I'll go, okay, that was good. But you just gave me a bunch of words. I didn't feel those words enter me at all. Do you when it comes to that kind of story sharing, I mean, you've got to speak the street and live the street.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You have to live the experience. And that was one of my, major requirements for choosing a song for The Voice. Mm-hmm. Anytime I had an opportunity to send in songs, I had to ask myself, have I lived this? Do I know this internally? Can I tell this story? Because if not, then it's not going to come through.
So you have to send your ideas? Is that the process? I mean, I just assumed they gave you a song list and you decided to pick from it. There's
that. Yeah. But, each round is different. We didn't get to pick our song for the battles,
right?
But for our blind audition, they gave us a list of 500 songs, maybe it was more, and we had to go through and make sure we had to give our top 10, and then we gave alternate 5 songs that were not on the list. Thankfully, my song was already cleared. Songbird was on the list.
Oh my god!
And one of my favorite songs ever. So I felt when they picked that song, I was like, oh, whoa! I feel like this is important. This is I mean, obviously I was picking the song, but they were also picking it back. And they picked a song that felt wow, this would be the first song I'd want to sing on national television if I had a choice. So
that would be so scary when somebody else picks the music, because it's almost one of those things where it's you're a free spirit as it is, as a musician, stepping into a formatted world. And it's what do you mean you're in control? Oh my God, what am I going to do here?
Totally. Yeah, I mean, there was a bit of a surrender that I had to go into and choosing my coach. I feel like that's the other thing is did I pick a coach that could pick cool songs for me? And I did. And ultimately, even though I didn't know the song, everything I wanted before singing it, I felt like I really trusted Niall and I went into it in the way that he was talking about. He was like, you guys are very different artists, but you know, she's a songwriter first, Billie Eilish. And I have since then,
God.
I mean, Billie Eilish is absolutely incredible, but like, you know, I knew that on a logical level, but I hadn't lived in any of her songs. Like I hadn't listened to them enough to like put them through me. And I've really since been like, wait a second. All right, I'm going to get in the Billie Eilish world. And I feel really, really late to the game, but also at the same time, grateful that I got that opportunity to sing that song, because it really did speak to me. And as hard as it is to admit, it was very personal.
Billie Eilish has been one of the most mysterious artists, I think, in a very long time, in the way that I would watch the videos on YouTube and she would have these crowds electrified. And yet the songs that I was hearing on the radio didn't match what I was getting at those pre-recorded concerts. And so therefore it was like I had to go and listen to the interviews to hear the performer. I needed to hear her love for music. And then all of a sudden it all changed for me about how much I really respect her.
1,000 times over. Yeah. I listened to a song exploder with her and I think Phineas was on it as well. And it's a podcast that kind of breaks down songs, and it was a song exploder of Everything I Wanted. And that I think was like my first introduction to like, whoa, like watching the way that she writes. It's so profound. She's incredible.
Speaking of breaking down music, that's one of my favorite things to do when I sit with musicians when they're releasing brand new albums. And so many times they'll say, this is about your interpretation. It's not mine. As that songwriter, do you let us inside your creative door?
You know, I do sometimes, but oftentimes when people ask me what a song is about, I do like that response as well, because ultimately when a song comes out, the person that listens to it becomes the writer of the song, becomes the person that, like, it becomes about them and not about me. So even though I might have written a song about something very specific, it doesn't really matter, because it becomes the song to the listener. It becomes that. So, you know, I will sometimes talk about experiences, but, you know, to an extent. And then I get to a point where I'm saying, you know, this is about you. Like, this is your song now.
Have you had one of those songs yet where you come back a few years later and it's got a whole entire different vibration in your memory as well as your personal experience?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. That's the coolest thing about songwriting is I think that it actually grows with you as you evolve. I had a song that really reminded me of the imprint that Everything I Wanted was. And the reason why I was able to even relate to Everything I Wanted was because I wrote a song that was very similar to that tone and that feeling, but it was different when I wrote it. It like became a new thing in that moment. So yeah, I think that's one of the coolest things about songwriting. It evolves with you. You learn different things from it. I'm just like, what is this? It's like a story of my life evolving. It's very cool.
Does it start off with just a simple thought? For instance, my last book came to me. It didn't come to me as a song. It came to me as a thought. It was the saddest love song I've had to write. And I sat there and I thought, what the heck? Where'd that come from? And I thought, what am I going to do with something like that? So I pinned out a piece of poetry, and all of a sudden it became a book. And then it became music for that book. So do you have experiences like that as well, where a simple thought becomes a journey?
Yes, absolutely. I don't understand songwriting.
No, I don't
long as
either.
it's songwriting. I think it's like a miracle. I don't know. Like, it's a mystery. It's magic. It's alchemy. Sometimes it'll start with me plucking something on my octave mandolin or my guitar, just like a simple melody. Sometimes it'll start with my voice, where I'm singing a song over and over again. Sometimes I'll be sitting in some hot springs somewhere and a song will come to me. I'll be sitting in the redwoods, a song will come to me. It's like there's like a lot that comes from me when I'm quiet in nature. But I sort of get frustrated when anyone asks me to teach any songwriting. I'm like, like, I don't know. It's just something that happens. And then sometimes it happens from like me writing something. It's like a lyric heavy song where I'm like really strongly like wanting to write something. And sometimes my songs make no sense, until later, I'll be like, what did I write that about? And then I'm like, oh, I wrote about that. So it's a complete mystery to me. And anyone that tells you otherwise, I kind of laugh about.
Well, see,
because I'm like,
that's like Let It Be from Paul McCartney and the Beatles, because scrambled eggs and it becomes Let It Be. How the heck did we even get into this ship?
Yeah. Exactly. You have no idea. And then, yeah, you sometimes sing gibberish for a long time and then the words come to you.
One of the things that I feel guilty about is when I wake up in the morning, there's songs always playing in my head. And I feel guilty because I feel like I should be paying the songwriter to put that song inside my head. You're not getting royalties from what we're really listening to in our heads.
That's funny, like earworms. Like you were like, oh, I can't. I should be paying rights for this.
Because it's so weird. It's like, okay, I don't know where that song came from. Because, I mean, watching The Voice, I can tell the voice sticks with me because somewhere in the night, I'm going to wake up singing one of those dang songs.
Yeah. Oh, man. Trust me. We've all been singing each other's songs. Can't get it out of our heads, especially because we're in it so much. You're like living with a song for like a few weeks, you know? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you can get it all in your head.
Being that vocal coach and that songwriter, we're living in an age where AI is changing everything. How are you preparing your students to basically prepare their creative process that, hey, look, there's a lot more competition out there right now, and it's not human?
What a wild thing, right? What a wild thing to live at this time. You know what you said about it not being human? I think that's what gives us a leg up. Mm-hmm. I don't think that anything that is unreal can mask or cake what human and can it's human. We have a lot of things that are close in AI, and I think there's always going to be like, oh, that's really cool, but you can't create the vibration that humans can create. Mm-hmm. And that is truly what I believe. I believe that we are absolutely incredible. We have so much feeling. And our feelings are what sets us apart from AI, at least as it is now. I mean, we may live in a dystopian world where we have the potential of AI having feelings and like being exactly like humans and then waking up to who they are. You know, that's like a little bit sci-fi, but I'm also like, that could happen. But at this point, I feel like our greatest strength is our lived lives. Like the fact that like who we are and all the experiences up to this point are creating our sound and creating our music. And yeah, for me, that's why I always really lean into that with my students is I'm like, well, what does this mean to you? Not generically, not like what could it mean to a bunch of people? What does it mean to you? You know, why are you telling this story? What's the point? You know? So yeah, that's the best thing I would say.
It's affecting radio in the way that there's AI radio stations out there now. And I'm constantly asking myself, is this real? Is this person on the air real? And you don't know. You really don't know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think that's where we lean into our humanity even more. You know, like we like the way that you're asking questions is really, I would know you're real. In the way that you're asking, because it's not generic. You're really in it. You're like really asking stories. Like you're getting into it in a really beautiful way. So yeah, leaning into our humanity feels like the important aspect of this.
Speaking of that humanity, Kevin Hart, the great comedian, cherishes his couch surfing days. What did you learn from those days?
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Yeah, you know, I have done that a lot in my life. I've slept on many different places, been a lot of locations. I also lived in a van for a while, as you know. I learned a lot. I feel like you're always, when you're in that place of not knowing where you're going to go next, there's something magical that happens. There's this relationship that happens with the universe where you have to like set into a place of trust because it's kind of scary. Yeah. You know, you don't know where you're going to go next. You don't know if you're going to have your next meal or next place to land or anything like that. Thankfully, I was always fed. Thankfully, I always had a place to land. And I attribute that to the love that's here. And I recognize I have a lot of privilege and having a lot of people with homes, a lot of people that I can lean on. And I felt really grateful for that. But I also learned about the goodness of humanity. I learned about how my own trust. I learned about my own self. I learned about being able to just allow things to happen, and that it was always going to be good, even though I would be scared sometimes. I'd be like, I don't know where I'm going tomorrow. I don't know, like, where am I going to park the van? Where am I going to be? And then I just like kind of stepped into a place of gratitude. And I was like, well, I have my food now.
That's it.
I have my house now. And I don't know what's next, but I'm assuming with the trajectory that I've been on that it's going to be good next. And I would continue to like say that. And I think that's part of the magic of life is, you know, if you allow yourself to stay grateful for everything that's happening, even if it's scary or hard. Things work out because it's like, okay, I may not know what's coming next, but I'm not going to practice being scared right now. I'm going to practice being grateful. And when I practice being grateful, more good things happen. Granted, there's always moments that you're like, well, I didn't anticipate this, and this is a little bit more of a curveball, and well, shoot, dang, I've got a flat tire, or like, what am I going to do? But it's oftentimes in those moments you're like, I'm giving up, I'm letting go, where like everything sort of floods in. You're like, well, I have a flat tire in the middle of the desert. What's going to happen next? And it's just like, oh, somebody drives by, an angel, or like whatever you believe in comes through and helps you out. And it can be really scary traveling as a female artist by myself, but I definitely don't lean into the fear. I lean into the gratitude as much as possible, and that has proven to be a very beautiful blanket for me in all moments, because it's like, it's scary, but what's amazing is that life always has a way of taking care of me, and not just me, but all of us.
Yep. You got to come back to the show anytime in the future. The door is always going to be open for you.
Thank you, Arrow. Thank you so much.
You be brilliant today, okay?
You're amazing. Thank you so much, Arrow. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and thank you for the wonderful questions.